Welcome to the Planet Elevate AI podcast, where we explore how artificial intelligence is shaping the future of business leadership and growth. I'm your host, Imran Kadri, and today we're diving into one of the most exciting and challenging areas of modern business leadership in sales and marketing AI, which is a fascinating topic. Joining me is Michael Stubbs, a growth consultant and AI acquisition expert who's been helping companies transform their sales and marketing performance through smart, data-driven leadership. So get ready, because today we're exploring how modern leaders can inspire teams, embrace AI, and unlock next-level growth. Let's jump right in. Michael, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today.
Ron, I appreciate you having me, man. It's good to see you.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Before we get started, Michael, could you tell our listeners a little about your journey, what led you to focus on AI-driven growth consulting, and what excites you most about working at the intersection of sales, marketing, and artificial intelligence?
Well, I mean, you heard it all. Everyone has heard it, like adapt or get left behind, right? And so what I find most interesting in this space, or what got me into it, is kind of like my military background and leadership, and really being excited to apply that wherever I went. And then with the development of AI, and there's just a ton of different resources. Now you can apply, all those leadership values, and combine it with AI to really like help teams out, take a lot of stuff off their plate, and really focus on like more money making or growth activities for the company. And it's like, look, there's a million things that you can do with AI, but you really just got to form a good team that knows how to use it. But that's really what got me into it in the first place. I mean, just, I've worked with a lot of businesses, and then, with this AI wave coming through, it's like, hey, we got to jump on board.
Brilliant. And do you think this is an exciting time for leaders who are inspiring to become C-level leaders and even successful entrepreneurs?
Oh yeah. I mean, gosh, man, like, what was the last time? I mean, the invention of the internet, like when the internet came out, like, dude, AI, I know everyone's talking about it. It's not new, right? But like AI is is probably one of the biggest things that's going to happen in our lifetime. It's unprecedented. So absolutely, I'm excited.
Really good. Fantastic. Tell us a bit more about your experience at the US Navy. You've got a very colorful background there, looking at your profile. Are there any stories or pearls of wisdom that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, I get a ton of comments about this Superman photo, which is pretty funny. And then
Okay.
I'm sure you noticed the plaque right here. This was actually from my first submarine, the USS Key West. For your audience, I did 10 and a half years in the Navy as a nuke mechanic. And, there's a lot. I mean, again, I learned a ton about leadership. I would talk to all kinds of boat captains, base leaders, commanders, captains, admirals, whatever. But that plaque came from my first submarine. Fun fact, we were forward deployed out of Guam, which is where both of my kids were born. But, tiny little island in Micronesia. But anyway, you want a fun story?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So the Superman photo, my wife actually got it for me like 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I was clean shaven, I was just like, I was ripped, I was fit before we had kids. Anyway, but we were in the Philippines, we were in Subic Bay, and it's common for nukes, which is what we're called, nukes, to be like the first one's on the submarine and the last one's off. So we're always working, right? And when we get time in a foreign port or in a port where you can like see some sunshine, get some fresh air, like it's a great time, whether it's for a day, 3 days, whatever. So anyway, we were out and we had just got done shutting down the reactor, and it was probably like 6, 7 at night. And we were hungry, man. We were starving, but you don't really want to eat boat food when you've eaten boat food for the last 2 months of your trip. And so we went out, we saw TGI Fridays, and out in front was this Superman statue. And I'm like 6'4", I'm in really good shape at the time. And this local comes up and he goes, "Superman," and he points at me. And so from that point on, like I was the boat Superman. And we had a good time in port and everything like that. But it was a funny little story like that. And I told my wife about it. She ended up surprising me with that picture. And so I love it. And I just, hung it up. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's a very useful looking Clark Kent there behind you. I guess lived through the 70s and 80s, maybe even the 90s. Can remember Clark Kent. Brilliant, good stuff. We're going to go straight into the next part of the podcast. So we're going to explore your leadership mindset and how you managed to build successful teams and leading successful teams. So you've worked with a wide range of organizations on AI transformation projects. How would you describe your leadership style when it comes to guiding teams through AI-driven change?
So, I mean, you said a key word there, teams, right? Teams are still made of humans, and humans need to communicate. So, and kind of like a submarine, the submarine's only as good as your crew, and the AI is only as good as your team. So, if your team doesn't know how to use it or they don't know how to implement it, like it's not, no matter how advanced it is, it's not going to help you out. So, really, like, there's three things that are kind of like the foundation of everything I do. It's consistency, transparency, and clear communication. Like, I got to be consistent in standards and expectations, right? And I'm going to praise people when they're above it. I'm going to let people know when they're at it, which is great, right? And I'm going to definitely let people know when they're under it, right? So we can all get better. And hey, if you're not in a position where you're being successful every day and you feel like you're making, like you have a sense of accomplishment, like, let's get you in a place where you are, right? And it may not be with my team, which is okay, right? And so many people are scared of like, oh man, I just feel like I can't do it, or they're like, they put so much pressure on themselves to succeed, like when maybe they'd rather be doing something else, right? And so consistency with standards and just helping people achieve in the spot they are or finding a place where they can succeed, right? So that's number one. Number two is transparency. If you're the only guy that knows what's going on, you're doing something wrong, right? The entire team needs to be up to speed on what's happening, when it's happening, why it's happening, and how it's happening, right? So if an entire team, if you're transparent with the team, they feel like they can trust you, like, they're going to follow you out of respect and not out of fear. Fear is not a good way to lead. Because plus, I mean, who wants to be the only guy with answers? You're going to paint yourself into a corner. Your workload's going to go through the roof, and you're really going to create a bottleneck for yourself and any team you're running. So, I've heard this from a lot of my mentors, is like some of the best leaders, the first thing they do when they come in is start looking for their replacement. And so the third thing is communication. Yes, there has to be transparency. Yes, there has to be consistency. But if there's no communication, the rest of the stuff falls apart. Over communicate often. More information is better than no information or not enough. So, I mean, those three things are really like the core of how we lead teams into implementing and executing, whether it's a new AI software or, just, automated processes, CRMs, advertisements, whatever it is, like client outreach, database reactivations. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. But really, like, you want to get really deep into leadership?
Go for it. This is your time, Michael.
Okay. So, like, I spent a lot of time, in my time in the Navy, I've talked to tons of different boat captains, right? And, I would always ask them, like, hey, like, throughout your career, like, what have been some of like the top 1, 2, 3 things you've learned? What are some experiences you went through that taught you something you really valued? And through all of this, like, it was like, how can I get people to work for more than just a paycheck, right? And so have you ever heard of like Simon Sinek?
Yes.
Cool.
Why?
And his whole, the golden circle, start with why,
Yeah.
right? So if people can, on one side, can attach their identity to what you're doing, like you're going to have a lot more powerful outcome, right? Instead of just, it's not just going to be like, oh, well, I come here because I have to make money, right? I mean, it's not fun. Work isn't fun all the time, but it's just not a good way to go about every day. You get a lot less production out of people. So if they can identify like internally with what you're doing, whether it's your mission, whether it's your objective, or whether, they really resonate with like, the type of work they're doing or whatever, that's going to get the most out of people. And on the other side, there's this American psychologist, his name is Lawrence Kohlberg, and he basically came out with the different stages of morality. And simply, it's like the first stage is pre-conventional, and then there's conventional, and then there's post-conventional. And within there's like subcategories and everything like that. But the way I like to describe it is kind of like a guy at a crosswalk, right? So pre-conventional is you're avoiding pain, or you're just have something you want to do, so you do it. So it's like a guy gets to a crosswalk and he wants to get to the other side, so he walks. That's it. That's as far as his thought process goes. Now, I mean, I guess you could compare it like a baby or like a drug addict, which is like, I want this thing, so I'm going to go do it. Really no conception of like how it's affecting people around them. There's a second level, which is conventional, which is like, law abiding, right? Your typical human adult, right? Most people want to maintain the law. and law and order within their immediate surroundings. So it's kind of like, the guy gets to the crosswalk, but now he notices that it says don't walk, so he doesn't walk, right? Because he wants to maintain law and order. So that's pretty conventional, and that's like most people's thought processes. Like, I want to maintain my team, I want to do what's right, kind of thing. And now you're on to like post conventional. Post conventional is when the guy gets to the crosswalk. He sees that it says don't walk, but he thinks to himself, okay, is what I'm doing more important than the fact that the sign says don't walk? And am I willing to accept the consequences, if I do that? Right. And so that's people who are thinking about like kind of like the wider impact that they're having, not only in their immediate surroundings, but like in the entire company, maybe, like how people view them. So those are kind of like the three stages. But just to kind of like pull this together, if you can identify people who connect internally with your company and operate on higher stages of morality, then you have a winning combination for a team who's going to like put in a very large amount of effort for more than just a paycheck. And
Excellent.
so that's kind of like my whole leadership shtick, I guess.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Really, really good. An excellent way to start this podcast. And I'm sure the audience will take those 3 sound bites from today. So thank you.
Yeah.
That leads us nicely to talk about AI in terms of roles. So how do you see AI reshaping the traditional roles of sales and marketing leaders today?
Well, it's definitely going to create more sales and marketing leaders. I mean, there's really nothing you can't do. What's crazy is if you can just imagine, like everybody has conceptually infinite information at their fingertips at any given moment, right? So information is not exclusive anymore, and it hasn't been exclusive for a while now, right? Now, where the internet, you would have to like do all this research, right? You still had access to the information, but it took a lot longer. Now AI knows all that, and you can ask it that information, or you can ask it questions about this information or do research, and you're going to get like very, very high level answers as if you're talking to someone who's been in the field or has experience for years and years and years, right? Now, I know there's some applications where it kind of like falls short and this, that, and the other, but for the most part, like people have access to more information today than they have ever had access to at any point in their life previously. So like marketing is going to go more towards like, how can I create audiences, right? Because people still control the money. It's marketing is not like, oh, I've got this information that you don't have. Like anybody can look up, and I was looking up tax strategies the other day, right? And I didn't even have to hire a CPA because I figured out what I needed to know. Um, it's just like, I think marketing and sales, first of all, marketing is going to be geared more towards like developing and building audiences, right? So I think organic marketing is going to become more important than ever before, right? Because since the people still control the money, you have to build the audience that's going to spend that money, right? And so I think marketing is really going to focus on building audiences since information isn't really exclusive anymore. And then as far as like sales teams, probably the biggest thing where I've seen AI be helpful is just communication, right? So the biggest breakdown in sales teams and companies, and I'm working with a company right now, and I'm reworking the entire back end and front end sales and fulfillment systems. But it's like, okay, so my advertisement says this, my sales team says this, my back end team says this. What the heck is going on, right? So now I can have a call. Say I'm the sales guy, right? My team can watch an ad, and the sales team can be trained on what that ad says, and then all my calls can be automatically transcribed, and those notes can be put in the CRM for the backend team to already know the client without having this big giant pass off or like a whole bunch of time spent in information gathering and note taking, all this stuff. The biggest advantage you can use AI for right now is probably just like a lot of time savers. That way your sales teams can focus on more sales calls, right? Rather than spending, if I spend an hour at the day collecting my notes, typing everything out, that's another potential sales call I could have taken, right? So that's probably the biggest impact I've seen AI have, is just like taking what used to take, 1 to 2 hours, depending on how your notes are, and shrinking that all down into a matter of seconds. And it's going to help you maximize your time so you can spend more time on money-making activities. And then also, AI voice agents are great, but if I'm going to spend $10,000, I want to talk to a human being. Assuming this world lasts for generations longer, right? I think our generation and probably our kids and probably their kids, it'll probably start to change with our kids' kid. People right now want to talk to a human being. Now, is there going to be a point where people get super comfortable with AI and there's like AI therapists and all this crazy stuff? To us, it seems crazy, right? To our kids, it'll probably seem like another day. And so is AI going to go there? Depends. Rules, regulations, federal guidelines, all that kind of stuff. But it could for sure. But right now I see it as just like a huge time saver and a way to deliver, like get everyone on the same page in terms of communication and like just completely streamlining that process. Because when your ads say what your sales team is saying, which says, and your back fulfillment team is saying the same thing, clients feel great, your process flows, everyone knows where everyone's at in the process. And it's just, when clients feel like they're taken care of, again, that's an organic, you're going to get word of mouth referrals and you're going to build your organic audience, right? And so a lot of people, this isn't really AI related, but a lot of people, like to blow up their sales process before they have like an adequate back end fulfillment process, right? And so, they may have sold 50 units in a week, but can the back end handle those 50 units? And, what kind of AI systems can we implement to help fulfill on the back end and make it as efficient as possible? But yeah, right now it's a huge time saver, communication tool, and it just helps overall team efficiency.
It does indeed. It's fascinating, and I think it deserves maybe a podcast in itself. From what I'm hearing today, it's all about efficiency gains, enabling effective collaborative working between different teams, and saving time and effort. So that's really good.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Brilliant. Okay, so before we go into the fun segment of the podcast, just one final question around team performance. So from your experience, what does a high-performing sales and marketing team look like in the AI era, and what leadership habits make that possible?
So it comes down to how efficient can I make the humans utilizing AI tools, right? All those nitty-gritty tasks that people used to have to do by hand, like I said, typing notes. If you can get that off somebody's plate and, help them enjoy their job more, because like nobody likes payroll, nobody likes, typing out notes at the end of the day when you've had 8 hours of sales calls, right? Because like active listening is a very brain intensive activity, right? It takes a lot of energy to do that. And people are like, dude, you sit down and take calls all day. How are you tired? Like it's mentally exhausting. But as far as, leading sales teams and stuff like that, and what creates an effective team, it's, leadership, clearly communicating, how do I take advantage of these AI tools, right? And how do I create an environment where it's cool to give notes to the next guy, where it's cool to help your fellow sales guy make a sale when he's out sick that day and take care of him on the back end, right? It's still like a lot of human qualities you introduce mixed with like quality of life stuff that AI can provide you. So like at no point, like if you're ever, if you're dealing with humans, the human aspect will not ever be out of it. But I think that's what, a lot of people like, is that connection and energy. And it all starts with leadership, right? If you're maintaining a standard or, consistency, right? Like we talked about before, if you're consistent in what you expect and holding your team accountable to those expectations and creating an environment where it's cool to be a team player, it's cool to do your job as well as you can. People are there for more than just a paycheck at the end of the day. Like they really connect with each other. They work as a team. Like it's a really cool thing. So if you can create that environment and help people make as much, like especially on a sales team, right? If I can keep my team selling and they can support their families in the biggest way possible, like I love that. Like I love my team to be making as much money as possible. And if I can help them make more money with AI tools to make them more efficient, perfect.
Excellent. And I think you alluded to this, but it's also about, I guess, using AI for teams to be somewhat data driven as well. So to understand data, to use data in their jobs,
Excuse me.
to be informed, maybe to apply effort where there's more value. Without AI, that can become a very laborious task. But with AI, of course, you've got the data at your fingertips. You've got your high value leads, for example, so you can prioritize those. Excellent, really good. Now we're moving across to the last part of the podcast, which are a set of quickfire fun wrap questions, Michael.
Sure.
It's an answer, whatever you can think of first. Let's see how you get along.
Okay.
If you could automate one daily task in your work or personal life, what would it be?
What would it be? It would be the dishes.
Okay.
Honestly, man, like I got a couple of kids, and my son's 12 and my daughter's 9 right now. They're awesome. They're awesome kids. But if I could just have AI take care of the dishes, that would be awesome.
Okay. Watch this space. Maybe.
Yeah. What is it? What is it? The Tesla's coming out with their Optimus 2 bot or something like that. Get one of those guys in there to do the dishes. That would be sweet.
One to keep an eye on, Michael, definitely. What's one AI tool or platform you personally can't live without?
Ooh, can't live without. I mean, Zoom's a huge one. Like Zoom does a lot of stuff, but honestly, like I've done quite a bit in Lovable. Lovable is a really cool no-code app that I really like to use. If you've ever listened to Dan Martell, he talks about how instead of software, there's going to be like these micro apps you can create for different businesses instead of like diving deep into these crazy specific softwares and stuff like this. You can use Lovable, a no-code platform, to just go create like a little app that you can use for anything. So Lovable's another one I really like. You ever heard of vibe coding before?
I've come across it before, yes, Michael.
You just sit there and you're just kind of like, well, this doesn't work. Well, how about this? How about, and you just kind of like, you're coding and you lose track of time and you're just kind of flowing there, but you're not keeping track of your tokens you're using. And then, a whole day is gone and you've used like 3/4 of your, your tokens you have. But anyway, I would say Zoom, with the AI features of the note taking and stuff like that is really cool. And then Lovable, like an actual AI no code platform is pretty neat.
Brilliant. Really good recommendations there. If you could have lunch with any tech innovator, past or present, who would it be and why?
Probably like the Orville brothers, And so, they did the manned flight, the first manned flight. Those guys had to have crashed a million times. I'd just like to sit down, and they seem like cool guys. Like I'd like to sit down with them, the Orville brothers, and be like, what kept you guys going? Like you have to be like a little bit off, and just hear about their story. So that would be pretty cool. Past tech, because like as much as I like AI, mark my words here, there's going to be a time where people are going to overutilize it and kind of like lose that sense of creativity. Like we're just relying on AI to do everything for us. Like we're humans, right? It's natural to take the easiest path, right? Not the hardest path. That's kind of contradictory to human nature.
Like the dishwashing.
Like the dishwashing. Exactly. That's perfect. Yeah. So like, I'd like to talk to these guys, like what kind of like, and just get a perspective of like maybe just a different sense of pride or a sense of accomplishment, or like, be like, people back then, they had guts, they had a lot of like personal qualities because they had to go through a lot of hardships, and they basically had no other options, right? So I just like to kind of meet those kinds of people, because in the future I feel like a lot of that is gonna be lost.
Very candid of you. It's a really good perspective. Thank you so much there. Well, that brings us to the close of today's podcast, Michael. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing.
Of course, yeah.
And sharing your great insights on leadership in the age of AI. It's been a fascinating discussion about how today's leaders can inspire teams, embrace technology, and drive growth through innovation. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Planet Elevate AI podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow and share it with your network. Until next time, I'm Imran Kadri with Michael Stubbs, and this is the Planet Elevate AI podcast, elevating you to success. Thank you.
Thank you, man.